Welcome back to the Texans Better Talk Show. Kind of been on a run going through some of our draft picks. Started with Lassiter, so you can go check that out. Today we're going to be talking about Blake Fisher, taken 59 overall in the second round. Probably the most polarizing pick we made this draft. A lot of people weren't believing that we were going to take anyone for the O-line in this draft, mainly because of all the money we spent and have already inputted into our O-line. Obviously, that wasn't the case. Blake Fisher comes off at 59, and it wasn't the most glamorous pick from a fan standpoint strictly. Obviously, we're expecting running back, maybe D tackle is a position of need. Ultimately, don't go there, and we go with Blake Fisher. So here's why I think this pick was smarter than it might initially seem. Number one, Blake Fisher was, I think, the 9th tackle taken by the Texans, 9th or 8th, and that's about where he was ranked as a tackle prospect. He was ranked as, ninth best tackle in the league. So that being said, when you look at that, it's not as if we, took him completely out of order. I know the Titans J.C. Latham pick seemed a little high for a lot of people. It's not like we did that. On the other hand, when we got to pick a tackle, we started kind of a tackle run, meaning there were a bunch more tackles, like 8 more tackles taken before the end of the third round after us. So you could say Nick Caserio kind of started that tackle run. And so on the other angle, it's like, well, we had a whole list of tackles that we could have taken. I forget the guy's name, but the one that the Chiefs took, and Colts, I believe, took one, other names. So it's kind of like, well, this guy better pan out. So here's the thing with Fisher. I think Fisher is extremely underrated as a tackle prospect in this draft. I think a lot of people write him off because he's frankly next to Joe Alt, and Joe Alt went 5th. Fisher was the starting left tackle, got injured, and the spot obviously went to Alt. And in my eyes, everyone's eyes, Alt's the best tackle prospect we've seen in recent years. Thing about Blake Fisher, though, he's got good size. He's right around 315. He's about 6'5". Good technical skills, and you see a lot of that with these Notre Dame offensive linemen. I think when you watch and you go back to his film, because honestly I don't watch much O-line film before the draft, but when I go back and see who did we draft, let's go watch his film. His film actually looks very good. He's got a couple weaknesses. I'm not going to go do a deep dive on his grading and all that. You guys can do that on different channels. But he's not as bad of a pick as I was expecting for the Texans to make. But I am a little confused because of the investment into our right tackle. And obviously Titus, I couldn't think of Titus's name. Our investment into Titus Howard, and then obviously Tunsil. And then Juice Scruggs in the third, or was it the second last year. So we've put a lot of depth at that position, and so it better pan out essentially. But one thing I will say is a lot of people are claiming that Howard is just going to be ready to go in, next start of the next season. He had pretty intense surgeries on his knee. So this whole idea that Titus might be ready to go week 1 is kind of fringier. Now, obviously, you would hope that like a current backup like Charlie Heck would go, or Patterson maybe, I don't know. But one thing I will say is it does put pressure on the backups and even Titus Howard to really perform and really make his contract worthwhile, because there's now pressure, there's second round level pressure to perform well. So people were saying Fisher was taken early at round 59 and that we could have waited to get him. I don't know. I really don't know. I think it was, I don't hate it. At the end of the day, 8 tackles were taken by the end of the third. We got our choice at tackles. Did I think that was a position in need for us? No. Does it make sense now that I think about it? Yes. So I'm not going to hate it. I'm going to trust my GM. Hopefully it pans out, and it'll definitely be something to keep an eye on a little bit in 2024, but definitely a year from now, because Fisher's really a developmental piece, and he might be something, a couple years from now, probably not in 2024. So that's all I got on Fisher, man. Thank y'all for watching.